What if I told you that right now, I'm sitting inside the absolute cheapest brand new truck you can buy in America? Yeah, you heard me right. At a time when the average full-size pickup can easily climb past $55,000, and even mid-size trucks, like the Toyota Tacoma or Ford Ranger, are pushing $35,000 to $45,000. This truck breaks every rule. It's a price tag that almost doesn't sound real in today's market, so low that it feels like we've traveled back in time to when pickups were about utility, not luxury. But here's the suspense. The big question isn't just how cheap it is, it's whether this truck actually delivers enough to compete with the giants like Ford F-150, Chevy Silverado, and Ram 1500, or if buying it is more of a gamble than a win. Now, let's put this into perspective. The Ford Maverick, which people have been raving about, starts at around $23,000, but good luck finding one at that price on a dealer lot. The Hyundai Santa Cruz, you're easily hitting $27,000 just for the base. Meanwhile, America's big three full-sizers, the F-150, Silverado, and Ram, are in another league entirely, with prices ballooning to nearly double or even triple what this truck costs. And that's where things get interesting. This little budget pickup might lack some bells and whistles, but in a market where affordability is almost extinct, it suddenly becomes a giant killer in its own way. Think about it, you could buy two of these trucks for the price of a single F-150 Lariat and still have money left over for fuel. But here's the twist that no one's really talking about. Does cheap actually mean smart, or are you setting yourself up for headaches down the road? Because while competitors like Nissan Frontier or GMC Canyon are banking on rugged reputations, this truck is walking a very fine line between being the underdog hero buyers need or a bare-bones compromise that makes you regret not spending more. And that's exactly what we're going to find out as I dig into its performance, features, and where it really stands when parked next to America's best sellers. So here's where things get wild. On paper, this cheapest truck doesn't even come close to the sheer muscle of a Ford F-150 with its EcoBoost engines or the Silverado with its massive V8 options. We're talking horsepower differences that are night and day. The F-150 can crank out up to 700 horsepower, its Raptor trim, while the Ram 1500 flexes with legendary Hemi power. Meanwhile, this budget truck, it's pushing barely half, sometimes even a third of that output. But here's the catch. Not everyone buying a truck is looking to tow a yacht or haul 10,000 pounds of concrete. For everyday driving, commuting, small jobs, and weekend DIY projects, this truck actually holds its ground better than you'd expect. It's lighter, it's easier to maneuver in tight spaces, and surprisingly, it sips fuel in a way the gas-guzzling giants can only dream about. Take towing, for example. A properly equipped Silverado 1500 can tow over 13,000 pounds, which is incredible, but how many truck owners actually max that out? The truth is, most drivers are pulling a small trailer, a couple of ATVs, maybe a boat, and this cheapest truck. It handles light-duty towing just fine. Sure, you're not dragging a fifth-wheel camper cross-country, but if your lifestyle is more suburban than construction site, you'll be shocked at how capable this little pickup really is. And then there's fuel economy, where the tables completely turn. The average F-150 with a V8, you're staring down at 15 to 18 miles per gallon. The Ram 1500, similar story. Even with turbocharged 6 cylinders, the numbers don't climb much higher. But this truck, thanks to its smaller size and leaner engine, can easily hit mileage in the mid-20s, sometimes even better. In a world where gas prices refuse to calm down, that's not just a perk, it's a game changer. You start realizing that what you lose in raw power, you gain back in savings every single time you fill up. But here's the real curveball: features and comfort, because let's be honest, modern full-size trucks have become rolling luxury hotels with leather interiors, massive touchscreens, and tech that rivals high-end SUVs. This cheapest truck strips all of that away, and that raises a big question. Do you really need the heated massaging seats and panoramic sunroof, or would you rather save tens of thousands of dollars and still get from point A to B with a bed that carries your gear? And that's where the real debate kicks in, because sitting here behind the wheel, I can't help but wonder if this little underdog is exposing just how bloated, overpriced, and overbuilt America's truck market has become. Think about it. The average new vehicle payment in America has now crossed over $750 a month, And if you're financing a full-size truck like an F-150, Silverado, or Ram, you could easily be staring at $900 or even $1,000 every single month. Once you add in interest, insurance, and taxes, that's a mortgage in some parts of the country. Now compare that to this cheapest truck depending on your financing. You could be looking at a payment closer to $300 to $350 a month. That's less than half. And over a 5-year loan, that difference could save you over $30,000 money that could go into your savings, your home, or heck, even another vehicle. But the savings don't stop at the sticker price. Insurance costs are generally lower because you're not driving a $60,000 luxury truck with repair bills that could make your jaw drop. Parts are often cheaper, maintenance is simpler, and with that better fuel economy, you're saving at the pump every single week. To put it in perspective, if you drive 15,000 miles a year, a Silverado averaging 17 mpg versus this truck at, say, 26 mpg could mean over $1,000 a year in gas savings. Multiply that over the life of the truck, and suddenly this cheap pickup doesn't just look affordable, it looks smart. And here's another angle nobody talks about: depreciation. Big, fancy trucks lose value fast, sometimes 20% the second you drive them off the lot. A $65,000 truck can easily shed $15,000 in just a couple of years. Meanwhile, a low-cost truck doesn't have nearly as far to fall. Even if it loses the same percentage, the actual dollar amount is way less painful. You're not bleeding value every time you check the resale price. So in real-world numbers, the total cost of ownership for this cheapest truck could end up being tens of thousands, lower than a full-size competitor over the course of 5 to 7 years. And that's the hidden story here. It's not just about what you pay today, it's about how much money you're still holding on to years down the road. But here's the twist I keep circling back to: do those financial savings outweigh the lack of power, size, and luxury that the big trucks offer? Because yes, your wallet might be smiling, but your pride or your lifestyle might be asking for more. And that's exactly what we need to dig into as we take a closer look at how this truck feels inside, and whether living with it every day is a compromise or a surprise. In America, trucks aren't just vehicles, they're status symbols. They're rolling billboards of success, toughness, and pride. Pull up in a brand new Ford F-150 Platinum or a Ram 1500 Limited, and people notice. It says something about you, whether you're actually towing horses on the weekend or just commuting to the office. But when you pull up in the cheapest truck in America, that's where things get interesting. There's this stigma, this unspoken judgment that if you're driving the budget option, it must mean you couldn't afford the big boys. And let's be honest, the guy in the Silverado high country at the job site is going to look at you a little differently than the guy rolling in with chrome wheels and a massive V8. Some people see cheat as cutting corners, as settling, as not being able to keep up with the arms race of bigger, shinier, and more expensive trucks. It's almost like the truck world has turned into a competition of who can spend the most rather than who actually needs the capability. But here's the flip side, the counterculture that's starting to rise. More and more people are waking up to the fact that $70,000 trucks don't make sense when most of them never tow more than a jet ski or haul more than a few bags of mulch. So driving the cheapest new truck could also send a different kind of message: that you're smart with money, that you value practicality over pretense, and that you're not buying into the idea that bigger is always better. It's almost rebellious, like saying, I don't need a luxury badge to get the job done. And here's where it gets really juicy. Imagine showing up at the tailgate, at the worksite, or even just in your neighborhood. Some people might snicker, sure, but when they realize your truck payment is half theirs, your fuel bill is a fraction, and your insurance is lower, who's really laughing then? Suddenly, the cheap truck starts looking less like a compromise and more like the smartest move in the room. So the stigma is real, but so is the pride of being the underdog, the practical thinker, the one who outsmarts the system. And that brings me to the question that's been circling in my mind ever since I slid behind this wheel. Is this truck just a budget option for people who can't afford the big names? Or is it actually the beginning of a new wave where affordability becomes the ultimate flex? So here I am, sitting in the seat, hands on the wheel, and you've probably been wondering this whole time, what is this mystery truck that dares to call itself the cheapest brand new pickup in America? Well, let's set the stage before I drop the name. The average price of a new vehicle in the US today sits north of $47,000. Trucks? Even higher. Ford's F-150 starts around $36,000, but good luck driving one off the lot for under $45,000 once dealers add their markups. The Chevy Silverado, same story. Ram 1500? Forget it by the time you check even a couple of boxes. You're in luxury car territory. Now, compare all of that to this little underdog, because its starting price is so low it almost doesn't feel real in 2025. We're not talking 30 grand, not even 25 grand. We're talking right around that magical sub $22,000 mark. That's right, the truck I'm sitting in right now can be bought new for the price of a compact sedan. In today's bloated market, that number is almost shocking, almost rebellious. Like the automaker is daring to say, hey, remember when trucks were actually affordable? And here's the kicker, it's not coming from Ford, not from Chevy, and not from Ram. Nope, the truck holding the title of America's cheapest new pickup comes from a brand you might not have expected to still be in the fight. It's Nissan's Frontier, the stripped-down, no-frills-based model that sneaks under the radar while its competitors pile on gadgets and price hikes. For just about 22 grand, you're getting a brand new pickup with a warranty, modern safety features, and a bed that actually lets you haul stuff, something the Maverick and Santa Cruz can't even match in size. And when you hear that number, when you realize this isn't some used deal or clearance sale, but an actual brand new truck you can buy off the lot, it suddenly reframes the entire conversation about what cheap really means in the truck world. Because if Nissan can still build a truck that undercuts everyone else by thousands, the obvious question is, why can't Ford, Chevy, or Ram do the same? Or do they simply not want to because they know people will keep paying more? But here's the twist I can't stop thinking about. Does the Frontier's rock-bottom price tag mean you're actually getting a bargain, or are you sacrificing so much in tech, comfort, and long-term value that it ends up costing you in different ways? The moment you slide into the cheapest new truck in America, you realize this isn't the plush, leather-wrapped cocoon you'd find in a $70,000 Ram 1500 Limited. No heated massaging seats, no panoramic sunroof, number 12-inch screen glowing with every app under the sun. Instead, what you get is bare bones, simplicity, and depending on who you are, that's either a refreshing throwback or a deal breaker. The seats, cloth, durable, but basic. No fancy stitching or perforated leather here, just straightforward fabric designed to get the job done. And while higher trims of the Frontier offer power-adjustable seats, in this base model you're working with good old-fashioned manual levers. Look at the dashboard, and it's the same story. The plastics are hard, the design is simple, and while there's no giant Tesla-like display, you do at least get a modest infotainment system that hooks up with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. No built-in navigation, no wireless charging pad, no digital instrument cluster, just the basics. And honestly, for some buyers, that's all they need. After all, trucks used to be about utility first, not luxury. But let's be real, if you're used to the luxury touches of an F-150 Lariat or Silverado LTZ, this cabin is going to feel Spartan. You're not going to find ventilated seats or a banging Bose audio system here. Sound insulation isn't as advanced either, so road noise creeps in more than you'd expect in a higher-end truck. And if you're planning on long road trips, the lack of lumbar support and softer materials could leave you feeling it after a few hours behind the wheel. Yet there's a flip side. Simplicity means fewer things to break. No complicated seat motors, no glitchy touchscreens, no endless tech features that feel outdated after 2 years. This interior is honest, it's built to last, to take a beating, and to give you the essentials without distracting fluff. The real question becomes, are you okay trading comfort and prestige for durability and price? Because sitting here, I can't help but feel like this cabin is a reminder of what trucks used to be: tough, simple, and unpretentious. But in today's market, where trucks have become rolling luxury lounges, this stripped-down interior makes you ask yourself, are you buying a truck to show off or to use? This is where the picture starts to sharpen, because not everyone is going to look at the cheapest new truck in America and say, that's the one for me. It's not built for the guy who wants to roll up in the flashiest ride at the worksite, or for someone who sees their truck as a rolling luxury lounge. No, this truck speaks to a very specific kind of beer. First, let's talk about the practical everyday worker. Not the heavy construction foreman towing 12,000 pounds, but the small business owner the landscaper, the handyman, or even the weekend warrior who just needs a reliable bed to haul tools, supplies, or gear. For them, spending $50,000 on an F-150 is not just unnecessary, it's bad math. Why sink that kind of cash into bells and whistles when all you need is a dependable workhorse that starts every morning and carries what you need? Then you've got the first-time truck beer. Maybe it's a college grad who needs something versatile for commuting during the week and camping trips on the weekend. Maybe it's a family looking for a second vehicle that can handle Home Depot, runs, and soccer practice drop-offs. The affordability suddenly makes this truck approachable in a way that the bloated prices of other pickups never could. Instead of locking yourself into a $1,000 monthly payment, you're getting a truck that actually fits into a modest budget. And let's not forget the budget-conscious realist. These are the buyers who see trucks as tools, not status symbols. They don't care about chrome grills or 22-inch wheels. They care about saving money on monthly payments, fuel, and insurance. They're not playing into the truck arms race, and in a way, they're almost rebels in the automotive world. To them, driving the cheapest truck isn't an embarrassment, it's a badge of honor, proof that they're smarter than the system. There's also a case to be made for the older beer, the retiree, who doesn't want a massive, overcomplicated truck but still wants the versatility of a bed for gardening, DIY projects, or the occasional road trip. For them, simplicity isn't a drawback, it's exactly what they're looking for. So really, this truck isn't trying to compete head-on with the luxury trucks that dominate the market. It's carving out its own lane, appealing to people who see through the noise, who want value, practicality, and reliability without being weighed down by the excess. And honestly, when you look around at how crazy truck prices have gotten, this little underdog might actually be the most rational choice out there. But that brings me to the real question, the one that's going to separate the dreamers from the doers. How does it actually perform when you put it on the road? Because being cheap is one thing, but if it feels sluggish, unstable, or underpowered, even the best price tag won't save it. When people hear the cheapest truck in America, their first reaction is usually, yeah, but can it actually do truck stuff? It's one thing to be affordable, it's another thing entirely to prove you can carry your weight literally. And this is where most people expect it to fall flat on its face. After all, you can't pay half the price of an F-150 and expect to tow half a neighborhood, right? Well, here's the surprise. The base Nissan Frontier or any entry-level truck at this price doesn't try to play in the heavy-duty league. It's not here to pull 13,000 pounds like a Silverado 1500 or rival the Ram 1500 with a Hemi under the hood. But what it can do is shock people who underestimate it. Its towing capacity, while modest compared to the giants, is still more than enough for real-world needs. Small boat, no problem. Utility trailer with dirt bikes or ATVs, it'll handle it. A couple of thousand pounds of lumber or mulch from Home Depot? Absolutely. For the average truck owner, the one who doesn't live on a ranch or haul construction-grade loads every day, this little pickup gets the job done with less drama and way less fuel. And then there's payload, how much you can actually toss in the bed. Sure, a Ford F-150 will carry over 3,000 pounds when properly equipped. But ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you actually loaded more than half a ton of cargo into your truck bed? For most people, the answer is never. This budget-friendly truck keeps its payload rating practical, enough for tools, gear, supplies, or even a weekend's worth of camping equipment. It's not about maxing out spec sheets. It's about real-world usability, and that's where this truck starts to make sense. But the real curveball comes when you compare it to those lifestyle trucks like the Ford Maverick or Hyundai Santa Cruz. They might have sharp interiors and cool tech, but when it comes to actual truck work, throwing gravel in the bed or hooking up a trailer, the Frontier's old school body-on-frame toughness gives it a serious edge. Suddenly, cheap doesn't feel like a compromise, it feels like capability at a discount. And that's what makes this test so fascinating. Because the numbers on paper tell one story, but when you actually hook something up, load it down, and hit the road, the question becomes, does the cheapest new truck in America have enough grit to prove itself in the real world, or is it going to show its limits the moment you ask it to work hard? See, in today's pickup market, the big names are locked in an arms race. Every year, they cram in bigger screens, more sensors, more computers, more luxury features. And sure, it all looks impressive on the showroom floor, but let's be real, every extra gadget is just another thing that can break, glitch, or cost a fortune to repair once the warranty runs out. A $70,000 truck might feel bulletproof the day you buy it, but 5 or 6 years down the line, when that fancy adaptive suspension starts acting up or your 15-inch touchscreen freezes, suddenly that luxury becomes a liability. Now contrast that with the cheapest new truck in America. Its simplicity isn't just about saving money upfront, it's about having less to go wrong over the long haul. Fewer electronics, fewer complex systems, fewer luxury gimmicks. It's old school in the best way. Basic switches instead of overcomplicated. Touch controls, naturally durable interior materials that can take a beating, and a tried and true body-on-frame design that's been proven for decades. That rugged simplicity means it can absorb years of abuse without becoming a maintenance nightmare. And here's another layer: repair costs. Because when something does eventually wear out, fixing a simpler truck is almost always cheaper. Mechanics know these platforms, parts are more affordable, and you're not paying premium labor rates for some obscure luxury component. Over 10 years, that difference adds up big time. You're not just saving thousands upfront, you're saving thousands in avoided repair bills and downtime. There's also a reason you see older base model trucks still running strong in construction fleets, on farms, and in small businesses. They might not have been the most glamorous trucks when new, but their rugged, no-nonsense design meant they just kept going. And that's the quiet superpower of this budget pickup. It's built with the kind of honesty that makes it more likely to still be starting every morning when fancier, pricier trucks have long since developed expensive quirks. So in a strange twist, the thing most people laugh at, its stripped down, bare-bones character might actually be the exact reason it outlasts half the luxury trucks on the road. Today, it's almost ironic. The truck that costs the least might give you the most time behind the wheel before major problems show up. But of course, long-term durability only matters if you actually enjoy driving it day to day. And that brings us to the question I've been circling around since the start. What's it really like to drive the cheapest new truck in America? Not just under load, not just on paper, but in everyday traffic, on highways, and down city streets. The cheapest new truck in America isn't just a bargain bin option for budget buyers, it's a challenge to the entire US truck market. It's proof that affordability is still possible in an industry that's been sprinting in the opposite direction for years. And if buyers start waking up to that reality, it could spark a shift that rattles the giants. Think about it. The big three, Ford, GM, and Ram have built an empire selling trucks at $50,000, $60,000, even $80,000 and beyond. They've convinced buyers that they need luxury features, massive size, and endless tech in their pickups. But if enough people start realizing that a $22,000 truck can still do 80% of what a $60,000 truck does, those inflated price tags start looking exposed. The whole business model gets questioned.